Hi, my name is Danimal Cannon. Sensors detect an incoming patch of hot garbage coming in hot right now on Trekwatch. Welcome back to Trekwatch, the show where we rank and review all of Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we're taking a critical look at Episode 4 from Season 1, Code of Honor. As soon as I announced that I was reviewing The Next Generation, I got a few comments saying they were looking forward to my take on Code of Honor. And while I was vaguely familiar with the stigma associated with this episode, it had been at least a decade since I had last seen it. But now I can say with confidence, this is probably the worst Star Trek episode I've ever seen. Alright, so let's try to get through the plot. And to be honest, the plot is pretty much nonsense, so if you have trouble following this, it's probably not your fault. So starting off, the Enterprise arrives at a planet called Ligon 2 to get a vaccine found only on that planet that's needed to cure a plague happening on a different Federation planet. Captain Picard, the galaxy's most accomplished diplomat, apparently has to negotiate a treaty with the local leaders. His extensive briefing for this important mission involves 2 sentences on the turbolift from Troy and Riker mentioning how human-like the Ligonians are. I'm sure this won't come back to bite him at all. Ooh, 90s X-Men logo. Alright, let's see just how human these Ligonians are. Oh, these are just black people. Reminiscent of tribal Africa and, I don't know, maybe India? I don't know. You couldn't even give them, like, nose ridges or something? Well, I'm sure the episode will definitely display them in a positive light, and not at all through the lens of Western cultural superiority. Picard meets with their leader, Lutan, and Lutan is shocked that Tasha Yar, a woman, is heading security.
A woman? Your chief of security?
Yeah, this is starting well. Tasha needs to inspect the vaccine offering to make sure it's not a bomb or something, I guess.
Out of my way, woman.
Yeah, this is going really great. Yo, check out Lutan's power stance. Yeah, my man. Troy offers up some helpful diplomatic advice to Picard,
If I may suggest, sir, no apology.
which the Ligonians can hear, by the way. They're right there. Maybe they should have done some more prep besides 10 seconds in the turbolift just before trying to negotiate a life-saving treaty with this culture. But after body slamming Lutan's second in command, they decide to throw a party for their newfound friendship. As a peace offering, Picard decides to give the gift of a horse idol from the Soong dynasty. And even though Picard is a massively knowledgeable academic in archaeology, he somehow gets the century wrong and gets corrected by Data.
14th century, 13th century.
I guess you could say Picard got schooled on the Soong dynasty by a Soong-type android. Yeah, I said it. Ooh, Picard clap.gif. Check out Data trying to figure out when to stop clapping. Nice try, big guy. Lutan wants to check out the holodeck and gives a not at all sketchy eyebrow raise when he says he wants Lieutenant Yar to do a demonstration there. I guess the holodeck has carpet now. Yeah, I always wear my karate gi over my Starfleet uniform. All martial artists do that. After an impressive holodeck martial arts demonstration, Lutan gets the hots for Tasha Yar and kidnaps her.
Some sexual attraction from all the males. Lieutenant Yar is physically very attractive. But with Lutan, something more like avarice.
You know, when I first saw Troy say she sensed avarice from Lutan, I was really confused at first. What could that possibly mean? Riker does his homework and says they should sit and wait this out.
Maybe we should sit and wait them out.
We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas.
Picard and Dr. Crusher have a scene where they're supposed to emphasize the importance of getting the vaccine and highlight Crusher's devotion to her life-saving work, but it just kind of comes off really awkward. She manages to change the topic to Wesley getting some time on the bridge.
What? Oh, yes. Oh, all right.
A senior member of the bridge crew is kidnapped, an entire planet is dying of plague, but Wesley also, that's very important, Wesley's little character arc on this really sucks, and it manages to kill any sense of urgency on this mission. So the cast complains a lot about the form-fitting uniform, but dang, Riker, that booty looks good. For like the third time this episode, Data and Riker do more cultural briefing for the captain, because apparently Picard did zero homework before negotiating this treaty.
That is from an obscure language known as French. Counting coup.
Mr. Data, the French language for centuries on Earth represented civilization.
This scene is so strange, and it has really weird implications. The obscure language known as French? Are they implying that French is a dead language to Jean-Luc Picard, the man that lives in France and speaks French? I don't get this at all. I gotta say, Data has a ton of awkward dialogue in this episode.
The Galanian shift to convert energy and matter in different... which is actually not important at this time.
And you can really tell they haven't dialed in how to write for him just yet. These are supposed to be comedic scenes, but in this episode they just come off as really strange. Anyways, Data explains that the Ligonians' actions are similar to a Native American practice called counting coup. To be completely honest, Native American customs are way outside of my wheelhouse, so if anyone knows if this is an accurate comparison or a racist trope, because we know this episode doesn't have any of those, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I'd legitimately like to hear about it. So Picard and Troy beam down to the planet to get back Yar after asking very nicely,
Ask for.
Politely.
"Oh God, what is up with that man's eye? Dear God. Oh."
But they're showing some signs of wear.
During negotiations, they decide to throw another party since the last one went so well. Camera bump.
The abduction I have done according to our custom for all to see.
Oh, abduction is just one of their local customs. Way to point out the massive loophole in the Prime Directive right away, writers.
How simple all this would be without the Prime Directive.
Can't interfere with that. It's a custom. Lutan goes back on his word, to the surprise of no one, and is in love with Tasha Yar and wants her to be his wife. His current wife, Yarina, challenges Tasha to a fight to the death. This diplomatic mission is turning out great.
Then you shall have no treaty, no vaccine, and no Lieutenant Yar.
In this scene, Troy calls out Tasha Yar for being slightly horny for Lutan.
Such a basic male image. And having him say he wants you.
Yes, of course it made me feel good when he...
No wonder Denise Crosby quit this show. What terrible writing. Picard slyly wins the trust of Lutan by engaging in raunchy locker room talk.
See, you too understand the proper value of women.
We understand that they are highly pleasant things, but after all, unimportant, except for the land they own.
Oh, Picard figures out that Lutan wants Tasha Yar for all the land she owns. That's the avarice Troy was talking about. Do people in Starfleet own land? She lives on a ship that she doesn't own. Data has a nice scene with Geordi, and it really establishes their friendship for the first time, so that's notable. They talk about shaving, humanity, Data aggressively corners a blind man with jokes. You know, friend stuff. It's probably the best scene in the episode, which isn't saying much.
Including the Kittleys.
Impossible, Urena. I am a career Starfleet officer.
How could you not love him? Every woman loves him.
Yeah, this episode seems like they're trying to empower women by showing what powerful warriors they are, but then it manages to constantly undermine that by treating them like man-crazed objects that are to be possessed for their wealth. Yeah, it's not good. It's not a good look. They have Tasha choose her weapon for the upcoming battle. Oh, good choice. Worf has one of those in his quarters. So Tasha and Urena fight to the death. This action looks like total garbage, and that's no offense to the actresses or stuntwomen involved. They had to navigate some weird jungle gym battleground with one hand in a spike glove. All of the weight that this scene should have had is sucked out by awkward framing and terrible cuts. Tasha defeats Yarina with the deadly poison glove, and the crew beams both of them back to the ship for medical intervention. Oh good, Starfleet can have the life-saving vaccine. All they had to do was murder Lutan's wife so he could steal her land.
There was no challenge. She lives.
I am a physician and saw her die.
Oh snap, Yarina was brought back to life after dying. Those sly dogs over at the Enterprise managed to swerve the swerver. What a plot twist.
We can provide you with records of her death and how Dr. Crusher brought her back.
They even provide records of her death because no argument can supersede being technically correct.
And I will have you as my number 2. Pick your place.
Take that, Lutan. See, they try to make it seem like women are empowered again, and it's really just very cringy considering everything else going on. Millions are projected to die. The plague is flaring up. Better get that vaccine to them as soon as possible.
So what's the delay, number 1? Why aren't we warping out of here?
Set course for Styrus 4, Warp 3.
Warp 3? Listen, in Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek Bible, he says normal cruising speed is warp 6. Yeah, don't rush, Riker. There's no hurry. There's nothing going on. This is not a big deal. Whew. Code of Honor. What a hot mess. This episode was written by Catherine Powers and Michael Barron. There was awkward scenes involving horniness, so you know that there were rewrites by Gene Roddenberry. Alright, to be clear, the Ligonians were never supposed to be just black people. They were supposed to be reptilian creatures with a warrior caste similar to the samurai. But director Russ Mayberry decided to go with an African tribal theme and only cast black actors. Mayberry was fired for this by Roddenberry during production and was replaced by his assistant, Les Landau, but they kept it anyways. So the big question, is this episode racist? Several members of the cast have gone on the record, and they seem to think it is. There are some dissenting opinions though. Gene Roddenberry's son, Rod Roddenberry, disagrees. What do I think? Seems pretty racist to me. But to be perfectly honest, I'm really not in the position to tell people of color how they're supposed to feel about a piece of media. In fact, I'd welcome commentary from black folks, women, Native Americans, talking about what they think of this episode, because I can only speculate how it feels to see these haphazard depictions. And if you do discuss this in the comments, please be respectful. Let's do our best Jean-Luc Picard impression and be empathetic, thoughtful, and diplomatic. However, if there was ever an unbiased source, computer, run an analysis on Code of Honor. Alright, you know how our favorite show here has a predilection for horniness. We're gonna devote all of our teraflops to precisely quantify just how horny this episode is using our horniness meter. Looks like we have results coming in, and it's gonna be 7 out of 10. Problematically horny. Every single line about sexual attraction in this episode made me cringe just a little bit inside. Did Deanna Troi really have to put Tasha Yar on blast in front of the captain to announce that she thought Lutan had a hot body? Absolutely not. This titillating character exposition is precisely why Denise Crosby left the show, Gene. Our next data point over here at Trekwatch is the PTSD meter. Our crew often suffer through life-changing events that would rock us to our very core. We like to quantify that over here at Trekwatch, and it looks like Code of Honor gets, a 0? The crew can barely take this mission seriously, and they're more concerned about Wesley Crusher being on the bridge than the lives of their own crewmates. The constant joking and smiling during this episode really manages to undercut any tension this episode could have had. Our third and final metric over here at Trekwatch is the thought-provoking meter. Star Trek is at its best when it teaches us something about ourselves or life itself. It looks like the results are in, and our computer gives it a 1. Do you know what the crew learns on this episode? Do your homework. Do a cultural briefing before negotiating a peace treaty with a hostile species. There's a ton of future episodes where Picard is interacting with the strange customs of other planets, and it's done better in all of them. Alright, now it's time to rank this episode on our tier list. Do you have a guess where this is going? Yeah, it's a straight up F. Many reviewers have said that this is among the worst episode of all of Star Trek, not just The Next Generation. And who am I to disagree with them? It's boring. It doesn't make any sense. It's degrading to most of the characters. The crew is shockingly incompetent throughout the entire episode, and the intercrew dialogue was as awkward as it ever gets during the series. This episode doesn't even cross over into it's so bad it's good territory. It's not even good for a laugh. It's just good for an uncomfortable face cringe. It feels more like a bad episode from the original series than a Next Generation episode. To be completely honest, it's kind of shocking that this series even retained an audience throughout Season 1 after these 3 terrible episodes in a row. Thank God they finally sorted things out and made TV magic. Eventually. One thing I did like about this episode, the score is actually really good. Thanks for sticking around. My name is Danimal Cannon. Subscribe to see more episodes of Trekwatch. What did you think? What did I miss? What did I get wrong? Let me know in the comments, because that drives up engagement. And, you know, engagement. It's the line. It's the line he says. It's the line. Engagement. It's the line. You get it? Do you get it?